What is up, Only Playbook fans? We are back for another episode 39. We are previewing the divisional round. It is on tap. 2 games tomorrow, 2 games Sunday. A lot to unpack. I'm Sweetcart. I got Shisho. We're back in the house, and we got Shovit. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. I love this new place that we're in right now. Feels such like a studio vibe, and I love the sound.
Studio sounding.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anish Panskoda, one of his lines.
Yeah, dude, it does. It definitely has like a different aura or like vibe, like you said, that makes it feel more official.
Yeah, the only difference between us and Joe Rogan right now is that we're better looking.
I got him. We do a little bit more research than he does.
And we have hair, and he's bald.
Yeah. But he's getting a lot of guests, so he's doing something right. But just showed, how was the Orlando trip?
Dude, I'm so stressed. I just hope life gets better after this podcast stuff and things take off, and we can start marginalizing what's important and what's like just for funsies. But yeah, that was an intense trip.
Oh yeah? Wow!
Yeah. If they offer you a job in Orlando, are you gonna take it?
No. No, I've interviewed at like 30 different places now, and I want to stay as close to home as possible. So yeah, Fort Worth. I'm actually gonna go see the hospital on the 26th of next week. So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna I can't say too much because if they're listening, they're gonna be like blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm excited to stay around here.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome. We're excited to keep you around here. Hopefully, we all stay here forever.
Most definitely,
we never leave anywhere. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Like you mentioned, all the support so far this year. If you enjoy our content, we're social media everywhere. Twitter at Only Playbook, Instagram at The Only Playbook, TikTok at The Only Playbook, and then all podcast platforms: Spotify, Google, Anchor, and Apple. And obviously, we have a YouTube channel, The Only Playbook. Again, every like, subscription, retweet, comment, all of that helps spread the word. And obviously, we made an announcement, but tomorrow we are going to have a special episode, and our first ever guest is going to be NFL safety from the Detroit Lions, no other than Brady Breeze. So we're super excited. That's the kind of stuff that, the more we can spread awareness and the know about our podcast, that's the stuff that we can get down the road and continue to do that. So appreciate the support so far. Keep it coming if you want to see more content where we pick the brains of NFL players.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's jump into the first segment. The first game on Saturday, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, the number 4 seed, traveling to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans. The well-rested Titans, the resurging Titans. Derrick Henry is on the horizon Titans. Titans coming in here at 3.5-point favorites at home, over-under sitting at 47.5. Exciting game. I think that's going to be the theme. What are you guys seeing from this one?
Dude, the last time the Bengals won a divisional matchup or playoffs I wasn't even born yet. That was like 30 years ago. And let alone the next round, I think it's the divisional round that they've won. It's probably been like 50 years since they have won that. So it's going to be an incredible feat if they are able to win against Tennessee. I think the one thing to look out for is the Tennessee Titans defense, right? They've been really well with Kevin Byard and their defensive back. In the last 4 games, their passing yards allowed has been under 300 games. Which is an important 300 yards. Sorry, 300 games. 300 yards.
A lot of games,
right? And then the Bengals on the other side also, they're really good at passing the ball. They're averaging 385 yards in the last 4 games. So it's going to be interesting to see where the defense is able to contain the Tennessee Titans. The one interesting to kind of look at is the Titans are the league most penalized team in terms of defense goes. And if we saw anything from the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs, if you are not grounded and disciplined, limiting penalties, you're going to get burned in the playoffs. I don't care what team you are. So that's going to be something interesting to watch for.
Yeah, for sure. So since we really only have 4 games to talk about, I just dove deep into the world of statistics and just found all kinds of stuff.
Hell yeah.
So first and foremost, this is the second time these 2 teams have met ever in the postseason. Last time was 1990, and that's when Cincinnati beat Tennessee with most points Cincinnati's ever scored in a playoff game, and the highest margin of victory Cincinnati's ever had in a playoff game. Not that it means anything right now, but it's just something to remember that the Tennessee Titans have been beaten by Cincinnati.
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. Remember the Bengals.
The other interesting thing about the year 1990 was that was the year you were born.
Yeah, I don't know how that plays a role right now.
I don't either.
But yeah, that's a good one. It's so nice to be born in such like with a year with a 0 afterwards.
Yeah, it's just so clean.
Quick maths.
Yeah,
the rest of your life is just quick maths.
I was like, where are you going with that? Why is it nice?
I'm a 90 baby. No, I was born in 1997. Like, that's just so much harder to be like 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our number is a palindrome, right? 1991. It's a 1991.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah.
Cool. Both of our years have some good vibes next to them. It's kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay. Speaking of good vibes, Derrick Henry's back, like we talked about, right? So here's some crazy shit. Derrick Henry finished in the top 10 in attempts this year. He finished top 10 in rushing yards. He finished top 10 in rushing touchdowns, despite missing 9 games.
That's insane.
That has never happened in the history of football. That has never happened. Nobody has finished top 10 in all 3 of those categories after missing 9 games. So that shows us how important this one guy is, right? And to tell you more about how important this guy is, Tennessee has averaged 7 yards per play on 120 plays, while Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown are in the same play. Okay, so that's 120 plays. They got that opportunity to have all of them there, and they averaged 7 yards per play when that was happening.
That's a stat, right?
The best team in the league in yards per play, without counting who's playing there, who's playing not, is the 49ers with 6.1, right? So when these 3 are healthy, 120 plays is plenty of sample size to make that decision that Tennessee Titans may be the best team when all 3 of these players are playing, because the next best team is almost a whole yard less.
I love that.
Right?
Which is the 49ers?
Which is the 49ers. So that's insane. That's crazy. And without those 3, outside of those 120 plays, they're averaging 4.9 yards per play, which is not even near the top at all. So that's a huge, significant gain they have having all 3 of those guys now. So that definitely changes some things as far as offensive numbers go, offensive strategies go. And that also helps Tannehill, who averages almost 100 less yards per game passing in the playoffs versus the regular season, right? So just ever since he's become a Titan, you've seen him play in the playoffs, and you see him just not be the same guy that you see in the regular season. So I'm hoping with all this extra mojo from adding the Derrick Henry back, which, it's going to happen. They're going to become better. Not even just because Derrick Henry's playing, just the idea of Derrick Henry is there now.
Yep.
And that changes not only how Tennessee plays, it changes how the defense is going to spend the next couple of hours, the hours that they wouldn't be spending worrying about Derrick Henry. Now they have to worry about that. And the other guys are still healthy too, so it's just a lot. And I have a lot more stats, but, we got a lot to talk about. One last thing I'm going to mention. Did you have something to say about that? No, go ahead. Is that Joe Mixon, from a fantasy standpoint, he was a very, viable starter in fantasy. Great pick. Probably like the 4th best fantasy running back this year, right? So over the last 6 games, he has fewer than 4 yards per carry in each of these last 6 games. And he has had 10 or more carries in each of those games. So that's the longest streak in the NFL this season for having that many carries per game and averaging less than 4 yards per game. So he's getting the volume, but he's not producing. So that is something you want to watch out for when you're playing against a team like the Tennessee Titans. And you're wondering why, because Tennessee sucks against the pass, right? They're one of the worst teams against the pass.
Yep.
Bengals are one. So why is that important, right? It's important because opportunistic defenses, and Tennessee ranks number 2 as far as opportunistic defenses right after the Dallas Cowboys. It's important because opportunistic defenses, when they're forced to focus only on one aspect of an offense, then those opportunistic probabilities go off the charts. If a team sucks at stopping wide receivers like the Tennessee Titans, you would assume that they get destroyed and the other team will run the ball more. But if Cincinnati can't run the ball, then even though they suck at stopping wide receivers, they're only focusing on stopping wide receivers at that point.
Yep.
And that makes it a lot easier for them to succeed, even though they're not good at it. It makes it a much better chance at these really strong safeties and these really strong cornerbacks to get those picks that they've been getting all season long. So that's why it's important for the Cincinnati Bengals to not only come in here just putting, BDE down and throwing the ball like crazy, but also getting those draw plays in, those screen passes in, and those run plays in there, only just to keep an opportunistic defenses on their toes.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point. As long as they can keep the defense honest with some sort of a run game, then they're able to easily expose the Tennessee Titans' flaws, which is stopping the secondary, stopping receivers, right? They're 31st against opposing receivers in receiving yards. And so you look at a guy like Jamar Chase, his over-under and prop bet for receiving yards is 77.5, which I looked at his, and then T. Higgins was in the 60s and Boyd was in the 40s. And the way I thought about it is, Yeah, it literally would only take one play for Chase to get more than half of that because all they do is air it out.
Which he does quite often.
And the one thing the Bengals have done, at least up until this point, is even when they're ahead, they're not taking their foot off the gas and running the ball or anything like that. I still think they're just a throwing first team as indicative of the last 5 weeks. And so with that being said, I don't think they're going to go in there and change their philosophy and cater to the Tennessee Titans. So I really, really like Jamar Chase's prop bet at over 77.5, just because Titans receiving defense against receivers, and the fact that the Bengals have alluded to passing more the last 5 weeks, and pair that the fact with that Joe Burrow has come onto the scene and is
What do you mean by come on the scene, right? Well, he has a passer rating over 100 in the last 5 games, 5 straight games, and that's tied with Aaron Rodgers for the longest active streak this season. So he's literally playing like Aaron Rodgers. He's actually playing better than Aaron Rodgers if you really want to talk about touchdowns and interception ratios and all that. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason to shy off of passing bets for this game because, like we mentioned, so many flaws on this Tennessee Titans secondary, and Joe Burrow's just on fire right now. Yeah. So these receivers, like Jamar Chase, they're going to eat. They're going to eat. Yeah. One last piece of information that I feel like it's kind of important because we've talked about quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, but we have to talk about a little bit of the defensive side of things that may play a big role in this game. So Trey Hendrickson, who is a defensive end for the Bengals, he is actually putting up numbers like this: 43.5% pressure rate with him on the field last week versus 9.1 without him on the field. That's a huge difference. Yeah. That's a significant difference that Tennessee needs to talk about in their pregame preparation.
Yep.
So I think that's just something to look out for. I just wanted to bring that up so we as viewers, whenever you see Trey Hendrickson on the field, there's a higher chance of the opposing team kind of crumbling with a 43.5 pressure rate. That's a significant number.
Yeah, in terms of your prop bet, I mean, I think that 77.5. I mean, Chase he can definitely do that. I just worry if the game script for that game will affect his chances anyway. In the sense of, if the Titans just come out running the ball often, then that's less chances of the Bengals going out and less offensive drives for the Bengals. So that's my only concern. But outside of that, then Chase has done spectacular things all year, as has Joe Burrow. So, I mean, it's definitely possible to hit that.
Yeah. I think you're right if the game script does go that way, but that still means that the Bengals at some point will have to throw. Yeah. So it just makes me believe that even when they're ahead, that prop isn't out of it. Even when they're behind, that prop isn't out of it. And that's the biggest thing to me is they throw even when they're up, and they throw obviously when they're down. So it just is a really like an opportunistic aspect of things to take advantage of.
That's why this is a no-brainer. That's why this is a no-brainer because you mentioned that like if a team holds the ball for so long, it gives the other team less time to throw. But the Titans having Derrick Henry on their team and having all three of these guys at the same time and them just being like the best team in football as far as moving the ball goes when they have all these guys together. Well, they have them now together. So even if they milk the clock, they're going to probably score in some form. Like whether it's 3 points or some, they're going to score, which means what for the Bengals? They have to score too. So just because the other team's holding the ball a little bit longer does not take away from the fact that it's still Joe Burrow and they still like to throw, right? Yeah. The only way that hinders the Bengals numerical side of things is by if the Titans hold the ball for so long and they don't score. And then the Bengals can be like, run the ball, run the ball, short passes. But if the Titans do score by withholding the ball, which they probably will, then I don't see them stopping from what they're doing normally.
Yeah, weather's going to be 36 degrees, only 4-mile-an-hour winds, so it doesn't seem like that's going to affect the passing or anything like that, which we know this weekend weather can come into play. Any final notes on this game? No, should be a good matchup. Let's jump into the next game on Saturday. The San Francisco 49ers, after coming off of an upset in the Super Wildcard weekend, are traveling to Lambeau Field to take on Aaron Rodgers and the number 1 seeded Green Bay Packers. It's going to be cold in Lambeau, 9 degrees, game time temperature, 11-mile-per-hour winds. So coldness is definitely going to be a factor from a team that plays primarily in San Francisco, traveling to Green Bay. Green Bay at home, getting 5.5 points on the spread, over under 47.5. Couple things to note. Obviously, I mention this every time these two teams play. They played each other one time this year already. Week 3, the Packers won, come from behind, final kick 30-28. That was in San Francisco. This is in Lambeau. And then the other thing I mentioned, even when we talked about it last time, is Aaron Rodgers has this weird rivalry with the 49ers because they passed up on Aaron Rodgers and they drafted Alex Smith. And so that is something that, in my opinion, he never has forgotten about. So there's that added motivation. What else are you guys seeing in this game?
Yeah, so this is like a rematch of last year's divisional matchup against the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. And Mason Crosby, the 49ers scored a touchdown late in the game, and Mason Crosby comes back and scores a 51-yard field goal to win the game. So, I'm sure that's in the mind of the 49ers, and they're a different team now. They run the ball really well.
With their receiver,
Deebo Samuel, and with their running back, Elijah Mitchell, right? Yeah. Elijah Mitchell, even having missing, I think it was 8 games or 6 games, he is the 8th. He is 8th in rushing yards this year. Yeah. So this guy is a beast. He can do a lot of things in the running for the 49ers in the running game. And Packers are, I believe, top 10 in rush defense, but have they really had a fight or a team like the 49ers who run the ball that well? So I think it's going to be a big test for the Packers. Another interesting thing to think about is we talk about Aaron Rodgers, how great he is. Maybe second GOAT, I don't know. But here's a very key fact in the playoffs. When Aaron Rodgers throws an interception, the Packers are 1-6.
Damn.
When Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw an interception, they're 6-1. So limit the turnovers. Aaron Rodgers has to continue being flawless in order for them to move on to the next round and beat the 49ers.
Jeez, what a burden to have on your shoulders. You got to be perfect.
Yeah. That's why he's the baby goat. That's why he'll be in that conversation.
No, absolutely. There's some reasons. So this is the hardest matchup for me to figure out who's going to win, actually, to be honest with you, because it was, I have the Packers winning the Super Bowl, right? So I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game. However, there's so many things going against the Packers. There's so many things going against the 49ers. And I'm going to tell you a couple of these things, okay? So the Packers have not beaten the 49ers in the playoffs since 2001. Okay, that's a fact. And Rodgers is 11-9 in his career in the playoffs. So this guy that we see, this indestructible force that we've known, we see twice a year as Vikings fans, and you just from sheer Aaron Rodgers is the man, right? Like, he's 11-9 in the playoffs. Like, that's not very good. It's a winning record, but what's going on here? So then you start diving deep into the why this is happening, all this stuff, and it can make you go crazy, because now I have some stats on why the 49ers are looking really, really risky if you want to pick the 49ers game. Cali teams are 2-12 playing in Green Bay in the months of December or January.
Makes sense.
Ever. In all time.
Makes sense.
Okay? So, you're coming from, this perfect weather. I'm coming from Fort Worth, and, this is feeling a little bit colder than that, and I'm already, complaining. But I'm also wearing shorts. But, think about coming from the West Coast, man, and then going to Green Bay with that weather and that atmosphere. Yep. That's why they're 2-12. Guess which team has those 2 wins?
Cali team? Probably the 49ers.
Yeah, they have both those 2 wins.
Okay. Makes sense.
But they're also 2-5 overall. Yeah. So they have played them quite a bit. So, these are just crazy, one end to the other end kind of stats, right? Aaron Rodgers does not really play that well in the playoffs. And then you have Cali teams struggling tremendously when they come to Green Bay. So now it's these little small factors that I mention quite often. I've been mentioning throughout the year, this is a really weird reason why this team could win. This is a really weird reason why this team could lose. But these stats seem almost meaningless at this point because of the crazy amount of dichotomy going on amongst these two teams. And you mentioned the Aaron Rodgers feud against the San Francisco 49ers for not picking him. So there's a lot of reasons. If you were to just give stats and take the name Packers and take the name San Francisco away from these two teams and just presented the statistics to another individual who has no idea which team we're presenting the stats of, I don't know if they would pick the right teams. Because, the Packers have haven't beaten the 49ers in the playoffs since 2001. I feel like that one's a pretty significant one to choose one team or the other. So it's up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have the Packers making the Super Bowl, right? So this does present us with a little bit of a predicament because the 49ers obviously upset the Cowboys on the road. They're playing with a ton of momentum right at the right time. They have the history with Shanahan against LaFleur. They both were coaches with the the Redskins at the time. So there's history like every way you unpack it. Yeah. And we talked about Aaron Rodgers so much, and one key to the 49ers' success is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo has won like over 70% of his starts for the 49ers or something stupidly outrageous, right? But he's got a torn ligament on his throwing hand thumb, right? So obviously, even if like he can play, which he will, he's going to play. That's got to present some sort of burden or obstacle for him. And then he also suffered a shoulder sprain last week against Dallas. So he's been on the injury report all week. He's a little bit hobbled. There was even talks earlier of if Trey Lance would get into the flow and see some snaps with that read option or in the red zone. So that to me is a huge X factor because Green Bay is getting healthier. David Bakhtiari is supposed to be back for them, which he hasn't played pretty much all year. That's one of the best linemen of all time in football, coming back for Aaron Rodgers. And then the shutdown corner, Jair Alexander. I don't know his exact status, but I know he practiced.
He's questionable, and Bakhtiari is doubtful at this moment.
Oh, Bakhtiari is doubtful now?
I don't know if he'll ever play, dude. I don't know what's going on. We've been talking about him since like week 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's doubtful as of like 4 or 5 hours ago.
Okay.
I don't know.
They have Jair Alexander, and they also have Zadarius Smith. Okay, so they have like 3 cogs that are the 2 best players on their defense and probably the best offensive linemen they have. So like if any of those play, even one out of those 3 play, that's a huge thing. If Jair Alexander plays, that's a shutdown cornerback, right? Zadarius Smith plays, that's a middle linebacker that's navigating the entire defense. Or if you have David Bakhtiari, that's a tackle that's literally the most important positions in football. So there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, 5.5 points in the playoffs against a team that loves to run the football. That's a lot of points, right? Yeah. Because teams that run, that can sustain drives, that can even just kick field goals and drives with field goals, keep the score close. So 5.5 seems like a lot. But Green Bay at home this year, I think there's been times early in the season where I was like, I don't know. Does Aaron Rodgers really have it this year? Does he give a shit? Like, he came into the season hating the Packers franchise and all this BS, but this is like the scariest Packers team I can remember in recent memory. So I'm a little worried that there's an added motivation to Rodgers. Adams, his contract's about to be up, so there's an added motivation from the 2 best players on their team, and that's something I don't want to follow.
And then there's an added motivation on the coaches, right? Matt LaFleur is like the mentee to the mentor who's Shanahan. So that's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure he wants to go out on top and defeat his mentor.
Yeah, he hasn't slept, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure like if there's one win he wants,
is this one.
It's this one, right? Yep. And another thing, forget the added motivation between Adams and Rodgers. Just hear me out about these statistics before even this the added motivation aspect, okay? So Adams scores, or he has 123.6 yards per game in 5 career games against San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. That's the most by any player versus San Francisco since 1970. So he definitely, he is the best player that San Francisco has ever faced as far as wide receivers go. Minimum of 4 games, because there's some one-game wonders, whatever. Rodgers has 104.7 career passer rating and 12 starts against the 49ers. That's the highest by any starter against 49ers all time. Wow. So when you have the 2 best players on a team throwing to one throwing to the other, and they both have their best games against this team, that's something to be worrying about.
Yep. It's going to be tough. I think I have the Packers winning, but I mentioned this for the last game with the Titans, run the ball. I mean, if 49ers just run the ball and control the clock here. It seems like sound like a broken record, but that's going to be the way to beat the Packers, right?
The best formula, the perfect formula in football is to have the perfect running game. If you have the perfect running game, you're going to win pretty much every game, right? But it has to be perfect. And that's what the 49ers are the closest thing to perfect as it gets when it comes to running game. Right. So, that could be their formula. That could very well be their formula, because if Rodgers is not allowed to throw for 5 touchdowns and the 49ers somehow squeak out long drives and scored 28 points on the ground, that makes it tough for the Packers, So,
Yeah, I think I lean 49ers to cover 5.5, but I'm still going to take the Packers to win that game. Obviously, like I mentioned again, 9 degrees, 11 mile per hour winds. So home field advantage for Green Bay is a real thing. Let's jump into Sunday, Shove It. The first game in the doubleheader slate on Sunday is the LA Rams, the 4th seed, traveling to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. The best weather, if any game this weekend, 58 degrees there in Tampa. Still going to be 11 mile per hour winds. I don't know how much that's going to come into a factor. Tampa Bay at home favored by 2.5, over under 48. Quick note, obviously these two teams have also faced each other. The Rams won Week 3 matchup at home, 34-24. So both of the two teams that played each other played at home, and now they're going on the road. So Tampa Bay again has to travel to, LA has to travel to Tampa Bay. What are you guys seeing here?
Yeah, I think that if there is a game for Tom Brady haters to be excited about, have a chance for the Buccaneers, and to be kicked out of the playoffs, I think this is the game. I think this is going to be a tough matchup for Tom Brady. So the offensive line for the Buccaneers is maybe the second best or top one offensive line in the NFL, and going against a defensive line with Von Miller and Aaron Donald in the last 2-3 weeks has really kind of resurged and been amazing. They've got 50 sacks in this year, which is I think the fourth best in the league. So that's going to be an interesting David versus Goliath matchup to watch for. So the other matchup to watch for obviously is a guy named Ramsey. Evans versus Ramsey. If Evans is covered like he was in the first time they played, 5 catches for 54 yards, and we start double teaming Gronkowski, guys like Perriman, and I forget the other guy's name. But
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson has to step up, and will they be able to step up against the Rams defense? And that's going to be something to look out for. So I'm excited for the matchup. I'm going to side with the Rams on this game, and I think the Rams actually come out and win against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's not it's only the Buccaneers are favored by 2.5, so it could very well go either way. But yeah, the Rams are on fire. They might be the most on fire team as of week 13. So the Rams are tied for the best record in the NFL since week 13, including the playoffs. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. The only loss was week 18 against San Francisco when it wasn't really the end of it all if they lost that game. So that being said, there's also something else we need to kind of talk about, and that's Tom Brady and how he plays against the Rams, right? He's 0-2 versus Rams since joining the Buccaneers, so he hasn't beaten them yet. So that's got to play some role in the back of our mind, like how do I beat this team? Because I clearly haven't beaten them yet. And then Matthew Stafford, as much as you guys know how much I dislike this man very passionately, he led the league with 139.6 passer rating versus the blitz. So that's
he's like,
what's
come
that,
at me,
what's
bro.
that like? What's that like? a quarterback that can actually handle pressure. Holy shit.
Right. 139.6 pass rating against the blitz. The Tampa Bay defense, however, had a 38.1 blitz percentage, which is the second highest in the NFL. So they will be coming.
Another one of those.
Yes. Which one will?
Unstoppable force versus immovable object type stuff.
Right. Corvette and what's the other one? Was there a Corvette thing about Kobe a while back?
Corvette versus Porsche? Mamba?
I forgot. It was something about Shaq and Kobe. I don't remember. But anyways, so the Rams are on fire. Tom Brady hasn't beaten the Rams. And one fun little thing to look for, this is the 8th playoff game in the last 30 seasons between opposing starting quarterbacks that each ranked in the top 2 in passing touchdowns that season.
Damn.
So this is offensive firepower.
Number 1, number 2.
The QB ranked number 1 has won 5 of the previous 7 matchups.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is Tom Brady's game to lose. And like you mentioned, the wide receiver situation and how, if you can eliminate Mike Evans, well, Perriman's on the injury report.
Yep.
And it's not a simple, like a finger or something. It's a hip. It's a hip and an abdomen. So it's a big deal. They're down to literally nothing, and it's a Rams defense. Von Miller could literally just eliminate Gronk if he was put on Gronk as an assignment.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of things going against the Buccaneers, and that's also why you see the line is just 2.5 for a home team.
Yeah. You saw what that defensive line did to a insanely mobile quarterback like Kyler Murray.
Right.
So just imagine Tom Brady back there. We haven't even hit on the fact that Tristan Wirfs, their right tackle, is on the injury report, and then their center, Ryan Jensen's also on the injury report.
Do you know who the Rams have on the injury report?
Yeah, Andrew Whitworth, their left tackle. So their left tackle's out. So Andrew Whitworth's out for the Rams. So the one thing that I read up on is their backup left tackle is the left tackle of the future that's going to replace Whitworth because he's in his 40s. So I don't think they're that upset about that, even though Whitworth's like a perennial Hall of Famer maybe. But Tristan Wirfs, the right tackle on the other side, and their center being out against an Aaron Donald and Von Miller defensive line, especially after seeing how they dominated Kyler Murray, who can scramble with the best of them. Tom Brady is going to have even more pre-snap reads needs, and that's just going to be feasting for an opportunistic defense and like a Jalen Ramsey, especially if he's locking down Mike Evans. So, yeah, I do worry tremendously about the Buccaneers' offensive line woes against that Rams defensive line. And as much as I'd been fading the Rams towards the end of the year to my own demise because that's when they've gotten hot, I mean, they're in a very, very, like, friendly matchup between these two teams. Like I think a matchup on paper, the Rams have the advantage.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady just lost two of his superstar offensive linemen, and you have two of the best defensive linemen in football. Like, and then you have the best cornerback in league shutting down the one important guy.
The one receiver they have that's healthy.
Right. So how do you, in what world are the Buccaneers going to win this game?
I don't know. I still picked the Bucs, unfortunately. I don't know what I was thinking, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that Tom Brady factor,
yeah,
right?
Of
like
course.
This guy does not lose 9 Super Bowls and anything. Tom Brady, if there's a quarterback I would say can go out and win this game, it's Tom Brady. But yeah, odds, there are a lot of things going against him this game.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Vegas obviously still thinks they're favorites at 2.5. So are you guys both leaning Rams plus 2.5?
I think so, man. They have little to nobody on the injury report, and they're hot. It's just hard to.
And don't forget about like Sony Michel, Cam Akers. Both of them.
Cam Akers looked good.
Yeah, he did. He did. I was actually like very shocked that he looked as good as he did already. So it's gonna be a Stafford thing. Like if they lose, it's gonna be a Stafford thing. And I'm not gonna be surprised.
And OBJ.
I don't think
OBJ's solid.
OBJ's not going to be the reason they lose.
No. Sorry, I was going back to my Sony Michel, Cam Akers, and OBJ.
It was a very delayed and OBJ.
Very delayed OBJ.
Yes, and Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee.
Don't forget about the best player in the league.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, dude, I don't know. These matchups on paper seem insanely exciting, but I'm also once picking the Bucs. Right now, I've convinced myself that the Rams are the better team.
They are the better team, dude. They are. It's the Tom Brady factor, like you said. You can never count that guy out. So it's probably still going to be a close game, but I can see 50 different scenarios where the Buccaneers lose rather than one scenario, and that's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Tell me more, Dr. Strange.
Yeah, so let's jump into the next game then. The last game on the board for this weekend is probably the biggest game of the weekend. The number 3 seeded Buffalo Bills are traveling to Arrowhead to take on the number 2 rated Chiefs. 35 degrees. It's going to be chilly. Only 3-mile-per-hour winds, so these gunslinging quarterbacks shouldn't have any issue slinging those guns. And so these two teams obviously have also already faced off week 5. Bills won the first matchup 38-20, and that was in Kansas City.
I'm just getting excited just thinking about this game.
Dude, I was when we were recording last week, when I even just said this matchup, I got like goosebumps all across. And that doesn't ever happen, bro. So the Chiefs favored at home, minus 1.5, over under 54. Bills have beat the Chiefs this year already 38-20 in Kansas City. In that game, the biggest difference was the Achilles heel. Mahomes, 3 turnovers that game, 2 interceptions and a fumble. Josh Allen, pretty much flawless. So Josh Allen has been riding this flawless train for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the Rams of the AFC to me, right? They were like not beating good teams. They were almost close to not making the playoffs.
Making bad throws,
accuracy issues. All of a sudden, you're resurging and you're playing the best football at the right time.
Yeah. Josh Allen is a beast, right?
Yeah.
And he's amazing. He's a great quarterback. But when you get the seal of approval from Bill Belichick, and he comes out and says, what you guys did last week, that was amazing, and you made it very tough on us to win the game. Like when he comes to you and talks to you about that, like you gotta feel good about that. One of the greatest coaches of all time saying that. But it's not just Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. It's also the Bills' defense. I feel like the Bills' defense, they've got 2 safeties that have definitely surged. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Yes, both are Pro Bowl caliber safeties that, Patrick Mahomes has talked about being more patient and having more dump-offs and things like that, but he still likes to throw it deep. Yeah. And when you have these Pro Bowlers out there that are not going to allow you to do that and also are able to stop the middle of the field, it's going to be, I think, a heavy Kelsey type of game, and it's just going to be a fun shootout for both of the teams. I actually like the Bills' chances here. They've done it before. They can do it again against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, they did do it in the regular season for sure. This is the first playoff game in NFL history. I love just saying that word. Yeah. It just makes things so much more important. This is the first playoff game in NFL history featuring 2 quarterbacks to each throw for 5 or more touchdowns in the previous game. That has never happened before.
What?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Touchdown Agami. That's a touchdown.
Touchdown Agami? Yeah, that is.
So, this should be a Super Bowl matchup. Like if the whole AFC NFC thing wasn't a thing, like this is what I want to see in the Super Bowl. Like both these teams deserve it, like more than I would say any other team right now. Like I love both these teams. I love how they play, and they're both playing very similar style football. Like we don't know the Bills as a running team. We don't know the Chiefs as a running team. They've both decided to incorporate the running factor because they just don't want to be one dimensional, right? Like Chiefs got exposed last year for being one dimensional, and it's important. It's important to have that aspect, and they're both doing it really well. So a couple of things. We talk about Josh Allen being so good. Well, I mean, you can level up and become Patrick Mahomes, who is just that much better in pretty much everything besides power running. Power running is the only thing Josh Allen's better than Patrick Mahomes in. Patrick Mahomes is a 105.1 career passing rating in the postseason. That's the highest by any quarterback with 5 or more starts in NFL history. So, like, it doesn't matter if he's playing in regular season. It doesn't matter if he's playing postseason. He just plays Patrick Mahomes football. And that's part of the reasons why he's made it to the Super Bowl 2 out of the 3 years since he's just ever came to the NFL, right? And to talk about, one player can play like that and elevate the rest of his teammates, but his best weapon is also playing like that. Travis Kelce has averaged 84.6 career receiving yards per game in the playoffs. Only Steve Smith Sr., has averaged more in NFL history. So, Patrick Mahomes plays perfect football always, right? Most times, more than any other player. And then you have Travis Kelce, who just gets on fire when it comes to the playoffs. So, like you mentioned, that's going to be a connection. The Bills are going to have to figure out a way to shut that down. And we've seen the Chiefs, get close to having the best record in the NFL while their best wide receiver is not even playing that good this year. He's dropping passes here and there. He's causing interceptions. So if Tyreek Hill, still the X factor, because right now he's like in the back seat in so many conversations because he's been dropping passes down deep and stuff. But let's just imagine a world where that doesn't happen. This game is over. Like if this playoff Kelce connection with Patrick Mahomes and this Tyreek Hill player that we've kind of shoot under the carpet because of recency bias. If all three of these guys play perfect football, there is still not a better team. Forget the defense. Forget anything else. If these three players play at the peak of their football, there is nothing and there's nobody that can stop them.
Yeah. I mean, it's what I want to see is two teams that obviously on paper is the most exciting matchup that we can think of play to their highest potential. Yes. That would make for a great football game because then the better team will come out on top, right? Obviously, there are so many other things that can come into play there, but I want to see a game where the Chiefs are playing their best. I want to see a game where the Bills are playing their best because then you can really truly see who's really deserve to win. Yeah. Because the one fear I have is that secondary, right? You have those safeties. You have this formula for the Chiefs that has at least worked in the sense that they're not giving up home run plays. At least good teams are not giving up home run plays to them. It's all underneath stuff. It's all be patient, take what the defense give you, blah, 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 right? The Chiefs were dominant on the defensive end for 8 weeks, but that started after they were atrocious on defense, right? Atrocious, like the worst defense in the league at the time. So the Buffalo Bills' offensive weapons to me still can take advantage of that. Not only can take advantage of it, but if I'm putting those two offensive cores next to each other, I still give the edge from more overall players to the Bills, right? They have more overall receivers than the one Tyreek Hill, right? Pringle, Hardman, they're nobodies, right? You have Kelce, obviously, but Dawson Knox is no slouch at the tight end position either, right? You have Emmanuel Sanders, you have all these guys that have stepped up that. To me, if Diggs is taken away, like Tyreek Hill can be taken away, and let's say Kelce just gets his, and teams have beat the Chiefs by letting Kelce get his, but shutting down Tyreek Hill. So on the Bills side of the football, now that they've learned to run with Devin Singletary, which has also led to Josh Allen running the ball more, they have an extra dynamic to their offense right now that I think the Chiefs don't have. And that could be recency bias with the Bills playing really, really hot, but we talked about the Chiefs having no problem moving the football, but struggling to still consistently put up those points. Well, we talked about the Buffalo Bills all year. When they win by fucking double digits. They annihilate teams. Yes. So I'm also, for some reason, could be recency bias. I also have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but right now, right this day, I think the Chiefs the Bills on paper are scarier than the Chiefs.
Yeah, Bills are doing a lot of cool things on the offense too, right? Like you mentioned Singletary, Gabriel Davis, and there's a guy McKenzie that
Isaiah McKenzie.
He was being incorporated in the running game more often, kind of like the whole Deebo Samuel thing that we talked about last week. So yeah, I mean it's their offense is fun to watch, and but you can never write off Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs either. So
they're a dynasty at this point. Almost, right?
In 3 years, they've already established themselves as like there won't be another better offense for a while.
Yeah.
So everything you guys said, a lot of Bills love, right? Much deserved.
Yeah.
So they have defeated. These are the quarterbacks they've defeated this season, and this is why they beat them so badly. They beat Mac Jones twice. They beat Tua twice. They beat Mahomes. That's literally the only good name I'm going to say. They beat Trevor Siemian, Heineke, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, White, Mills, and Zach Wilson.
Damn.
These are the players they annihilated, right? So you should be annihilating these guys, right? So it's just that they do it so often, and it's in the 2021 Bills are the 8th team in NFL history to win 12 or more games by 12 or more points in a season, right? And each of the previous 7 teams that did this, no matter which name I gave you, they won the Super Bowl.
Damn.
They've all won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
However, this road to the Super Bowl is what the Bills are kind of iffy at. They're 0-3 in road playoff games under Sean McDermott. 0-3. So there's not much backing that. The potential is there.
Yeah.
They will make it a Super Bowl with that stat of how dominant they've been all season, but their playoff.
I wonder if that 0-3 is all in Kansas City.
Could be.
You know what?
It
could very well be.
The way I look at this is the same way the Chiefs were the Chiefs 2-3 years ago, up and coming. All of a sudden, you're like, holy shit, this is a scary fucking team. How do you stop them? They seem insane. Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time. Blah, blah, blah. That is the vibe and feeling I'm getting of this Buffalo Bills regime and team that's coming about this year. So it's that same, they're building up to be a perennial dynasty. The missing piece was Josh Allen's accuracy. And obviously, Josh Allen has figured out a way that either he's going to throw the ball less and just use his legs and run more to take away the inaccurate throws, or he's going to use Devin Singletary, which has been their missing weapon. And so that's how I'm envisioning this Buffalo Bills team right now. But at the same time, the Chiefs, like we mentioned, established dynasty. They've been there. Andy Reid's been there. They've won a Super Bowl. Mahomes knows what it's like. And so the pressure is still on the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, definitely. They have a formula. The Chiefs have a formula that they are not wavering away from, right? Like teams know what their formula is. They still can't stop them. We mentioned stop Tyreek Hill, but you know what? Forget Tyreek Hill even exists. I don't think it matters. I really don't think Tyreek Hill is even anything. He's an X factor at this point. He's not a focal point of the offense. I have him on fantasy team, so I watch him very closely. They don't care about Tyreek Hill. They use him for deep bombs. They use him. There's games where he gets 3 targets nowadays. They're not Pringle's getting 2 touchdowns a game. These no-namers that we talked about, they're up and coming as well. I don't know if it's Patrick Mahomes just making the perfect plays to make them look better, which is probably what it is. But that's the formula they've established. They're we're going to get the Robinsons, we're going to get the Pringles, and we're going to make them look fantastic because we have Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So, the Bills, love them. Love the Bills. Me and Shovit, week 1, when we were deciding who's going to win the Super Bowl, we're don't forget about the Bills. So, the very much love for the Bills and what they do is definitely there. It just sucks that they have to go through Kansas City to make this happen.
That's how you become a dynasty. Yeah. You beat the best.
Real quick, Mahomes or Allen? Who are you picking?
Mahomes.
Who would you start?
I always say Mahomes.
Who would you build a team around?
Mahomes.
There's nobody else I'd build my team around.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
5 years from now, Joe Burrow would be my answer. Yeah. But right now,
Mahomes, right?
Patrick Mahomes. Allen still has those tendencies where you're what kind of throw is that?
Yeah.
I never say what kind of throw is that once it releases from Mahomes' hands.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. But Josh Allen has been doing really well this year, but I still think that Mahomes is down the stretch, more consistent, I guess less injury prone also than Josh Allen.
True, because he doesn't like taking the hits.
Yeah.
Real quick about taking the hits. Josh Allen actually averages a lot of rushing yards per game anytime he faces the Chiefs. I think he's averaging around 63 rushing yards per game in the 3 career head-to-head matchups versus Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's also because he senses that urgency that he has to make plays happen. He can't just sit there and
That was another prop that I looked at because we've seen this recent surge of him running the ball more because he feels like it adds another dynamic to the entire offense, and his over-under rushing was at 50.5. So historically, he's better rushing against the Chiefs. They figured out a formula for Singletary and for him to do some read option shit, and for him to show that sense of urgency, and it's easy for him to get 20, 25 yards.
Yeah,
that's
very
half
easy.
the prop in one play. So
Very easy.
that's another prop that I actually do not mind. At 50, knowing that his career average against the Chiefs
Yeah.
is 63.
Yeah, and knowing the game script may not be favoring them,
Yes.
may not. There's
Yeah.
a higher chance of it not favoring
Yeah.
the Bills, and he's gonna have to run.
And the Bills are another team. Even if the game script is not favoring them, they're still going to play the same football, right? So I don't think they're going to go up 14-0 and be like, let's just I formation
No.
Devin
No.
Singletary. That's never happening
Oh my
with the
God,
Bills.
I can't wait to have
Yeah,
that.
exactly. God, the luxury. So yeah, that's why I really, really like that prop. That's why this game, the spread is as tight as it is, because everybody has a consensus that this game could go either way. Gun to your head, who are you taking?
Bills.
Chiefs.
Chiefs. I said all that about the Bills, and then all of a sudden, gun to your head, and you have to make the decision. It's the Chiefs.
It's Andy Reid
Yeah.
versus a guy that's 0-3 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. So it's going to be a great game, obviously. Those are the 4 games. Obviously, took a ton of time to unpack them because there's so much to talk about, and it's the fucking playoffs. So let's end the show with our brand new segment. Shove it. I want to spice things up and have a little bit of fun, so I came up with this random playoff player trivia game. Basically, how this is going to work is this player that I'm going to give you guys facts about played in these current playoffs, right? Whether he's playing right now or already not playing anymore, whatever, but this year's playoffs, this player was a factor. So basically how the game is going to go is I'm going to start reading hints off to you guys, statements. At any point you can guess. There's no buzz or anything, so just interrupt me. You each get 2 guesses, right? One wrong guess, you still get a second guess. So you can have like a really, really, oh yeah, just going to throw something out there kind of guess, and then a more, thought out guess. But okay, so here we go. Again, this
Hold on. Do we have to alternate between guesses, or if I guess
No,
the first one,
no.
I can guess the second one
Yeah,
immediately?
you can guess, and then you're wrong, and then he can wait for all the hints.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So here we go, guys. Ready? Random playoff player trivia. Here we go. First hint. This player was a 2-star recruit out of high school.
A 2-star recruit. Okay.
Freshman year of college, he came in at a whopping 5'10", 155 pounds.
Kyler Murray.
Wrong. First guess.
Current playoff.
Oh, still in the playoffs in this. Okay.
I didn't say that. I said this year's playoffs they've played. Whether they've been eliminated or still in, don't know. No idea.
5'10". What was the weight?
155.
Oh my
Damn.
God.
Here we go. So you already have one guess gone.
Yeah, I got
So
it.
you can play that to your
Nope.
advantage. Ready? Next guess. He was the winner of the Burlsworth Trophy in 2018, which is given to the best college football player who began his career as a walk-on. Do you guys want to know where he walked on at?
Nebraska?
He walked on
LSU?
at Clemson.
Clemson.
5'10"?
Next hint. This random player caught a touchdown pass from Deshaun Watson in the 2017 National Championship.
Okay, this 5'10" thing is throwing me off. Because I have like 2 names and they're not 5'10".
I'm about to run out of hints if you guys don't guess.
Some Clemson little guy. Okay, I guess I got to guess.
This is his 3rd NFL season. He had over 1,000 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns, and this might be a big factor.
Scooter?
103 catches.
Oh my God.
Now, the last hint, I'm not going to tell you because it's going to give it away. So I need you guys to really, really dig deep here. You still have 2. Let's process of elimination.
Receiver.
Yes, receiver, right? So
Yeah.
eliminate every other player. He's a receiver. He's 5'10". So start thinking about shorter receivers.
I am.
He came in at 155 pounds. So the chances that it's like DK Metcalf is impossible.
Right. Oh yeah, I know that.
Because the amount of weight he probably had to put on to play in the NFL, he's still not a big dude.
And he's been there for
2-star recruit.
3 years.
There's a reason I just mentioned DK Metcalf, and it all makes sense to you guys here in a second. There is a reason I just mentioned DK Metcalf. And I'm going to give you guys the final hint. It's going to be the person that says it first. Here we go. He was a 5th-round pick by the Oakland Raiders.
Go for it.
By the Oakland Raiders?
Hunter Renfro.
Yes. The answer is Hunter Renfro. Ding, ding, ding.
He went to Clemson?
Yes, sir. He walked on at Clemson after receiving like D2 and FCS scholarships. He's like, fuck this. I'm going to walk on at 5'10", 155. Shosho, you win the random playoff performer. You win this fruit snack.
Throw it.
I have to toss it into your mouth. Here we go.
Caught it.
And that's how it's done.
Caught it.
Much like Hunter Renfro's 103 catches. That's another catch for you, Shosho. So that was random playoff performer.
Wow, I had to go down to the last hint. I got to do better than that.
Renfro. I was like, Zay Jones?
That dude's tall.
5'10"?
He's tall. I know, and then I had to stop. He's only 5'10"?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought he was like 6'2" or 6'1".
Yeah.
Wait, he was 5'10" his freshman year. I don't know what he's now.
That's true.
I don't know what he's now.
That's true. He may have grown an inch.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess 5'11".
Let me look it up. He's 5'10". He didn't
Oh,
he didn't grow at all.
grow?
Yeah.
Should've
But
done
he
some
went from
yoga.
155 to 185 now. So he put on
Damn.
30 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And that there's a reason I brought up DK Metcalf. He's in that meme with DK Metcalf of like two players that play the same position in the NFL.
They compare each
And
other.
they're completely opposite in physical stature. So again, that was random playoff player trivia. Appreciate you guys.
It's over?
Yeah, that's it. It was just
Oh
one.
man, I thought it was gonna be like six more of these.
Nah. We got to keep you guys on your toes. We got to do one a week. So then now you guys are looking forward to next week's playoff trivia.
All right.
That's it. That's the episode, guys. Again, divisional round. So many exciting matchups. All 4 games. I mean, all 4 games. I am going to be at the edge of my seat.
sure.
This is
Yeah.
going to be an insane week. Again, we have our special episode tomorrow with Lions safety Brady Breeze. He is going to be joining us in the studio here in this new studio. So we're excited about that. I don't know when we'll put that episode out. We'll have to do some editing and stuff. But then we'll have our next episode where we recap this weekend's games on Monday as scheduled. Final thoughts?
No, I just want to see football.
Dude, I can't wait. First game, 3:30 kickoff, I believe, tomorrow, and it's that Bengals-Titans game. So we'll be excited. We'll be tuned in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. We are The Only Playbook. We'll see you next time.